Hello and welcome to the Blue Shadow Podcast. My name is Joey,
I am Dan.
and today we are going to do something that Dan has absolutely no clue about what we're recording. He just knew that we were recording.
Yes, this is your turn to surprise me. I surprised you once before.
Are you scared or
And
excited?
I'm excited. I mean, can't go worse than the blind rankings from the first one.
Oh, yeah. This will be good. It's not as putting you on the spot. What we're going to do here is I've been thinking a lot about the release of the sequel trilogy. I'm a big sequels fan, but set your thoughts on the sequels aside. There was so much excitement going about it, especially going into like The Force Awakens and then that year in between The Force Awakens and Last Jedi. Do you recall that
Mhm.
hype? Did you fall
Oh,
into
of
the
course.
did you fall into the theory traps and like watching the videos in between seven and eight?
I did, but then I had to back out of it.
I did hard.
I couldn't. I just thought, you know, whatever is coming is coming, and whatever I have in my head, they're not gonna do.
See,
So I'm not gonna get anything in my head.
I didn't come to that realization until after I saw The Last Jedi. So you probably had a better first viewing experience. But I grew and I absolutely loved The Last Jedi. But one of the key hallmarks of that time, and what I want to go through today, is the concept of the different Snoke theories. So I want to start by
Okay.
talking about what happened with Snoke, and then I want to go through. There is a list from Screen Rant with different theories, and I want us to rank them. That would have been a cool idea. Meh, or that's a crackpot theory and it's absolutely terrible.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, it does sound fun.
We
So
we love making theories and judging theories,
we do, and we don't even have to come up
especially
with any today.
especially each other's.
See, we're missing out on the personal attack part of that with this episode, but maybe we'll save that for next time.
We maybe we'll throw one of our own theories if we have time at the end.
I had one, so we'll see how this all shakes out. But I did want to get your thoughts on what did you think about the way that Snoke ended up being, kind of a Palpatine experiment coming out of a vat, and well, I'll ask you questions about how you think Snoke works, but what do you think about the end
In
result?
in 2024, it makes a lot more sense. Knowing what we know now with the attempts of Project Necromancer and all the dark cloning that the Empire was trying to do, it makes a lot more sense. But at the time, I was just confused. So confused. I'm like, okay, I guess. I
I
don't.
the funniest thing is that I think it looks like they put like a clip art of Snoke in that yellow tank on Exegol, and it was like you didn't
Mhm.
have to do that. Like they used the
Yeah.
voice cue to be like clearly indicate that he was a manipulation of Palpatine. It was such a weird choice, and there's so much weird stuff in Rise of Skywalker, and it's part of why it's my favorite Star Wars movie. But it was so strange, and like you said, it has been greatly enriched. But I was totally fine with it. I was like, Palpatine's back, sure, why not? This works too.
And again, hindsight is 2020. It makes a lot of sense. One of the most powerful active force user in the galaxy, maybe apart from Luke, is able to, clone his being and project it into something else.
I like personally the connection that like they were struggling to make force sensitive clones, and you know
Hmm.
they crack that with the Palpatine body, and it's not quite working. And I wonder if Snoke is like an earlier version of that, or it's clearly distorted. So maybe it was like a predecessor to the Palpatine version that we see dangling from the claw.
Hmm. I feel like that makes a lot more sense. That it's its own. I mean, Snoke has a. I know you don't watch South Park, but Snoke looks like a South Park character.
He has a very unique shape. I have two more
Looks like a
questions.
balloon.
He does look like a balloon, dressed in gold with his little slippies and his fancy ring.
Pretty sweet. It's pretty sweet.
I'm a little sad they didn't merchandise that.
Well, you have a cricket. I'll get you a sewing machine and we can go to work.
That'll be some episode. That's how one of us hurts ourselves. But my first of the two questions I have left for you before we dive into the theories is first, what do you think that Snoke has autonomy, or do you think that Palpatine is like meat puppeting Snoke from the Beyond? Not the Beyond, the Exegol.
He has some form of autonomy.
I agree.
Um, I don't know what Snoke's a clone of, and I guess that's what we're going to be discussing today. Well, like, what is Snoke? Because I mean, we can get really off the walls here and say it's a force being created, really going through the acolyte, maybe through a virgins.
Oh my goodness, look at this.
I know,
Yeah, I
but no,
go ahead, go ahead, sorry.
as he has some level of autonomy.
Yes, because I
Maybe
don't
it's some like machine learning sort of thing.
yeah, I agree that I think he's not just being directly controlled by Palpatine. And I think the character is really unique in that it doesn't really fit within like a typical Star Wars like archetype character.
Mhm.
And I like the idea that he has the autonomy, but you're right. I think there needs to be more fleshing out of what happened with Snoke, where Snoke came from. What exactly is he beyond floating in a vat of Snokes?
And we know too through Darth Vader that the Emperor Palpatine does have a lot of trust in his underlings. I mean, he likes to get his grimy little fingers in there too and control things, but he does give people a lot of autonomy just to kind of go do your thing.
Hmm.
I'll
And
watch
if
from the shadows, maybe attached to a claw.
for years, 40 years. Um,
God, it's probably rusty.
seriously. Just wanted to close out with, do you like the character of Snoke?
Yeah, I think he's cool.
I agree. I don't.
The one
I'm neutral to him, but I think he's cool.
the area, in my opinion, where the sequel trilogy really thrived and stood, and you could argue is probably the most consistent part of it, is the cool villains. Snoke, Kylo Ren, Claw Machine Palpatine, all pretty intimidating. You throw the Knights of Ren in there, you throw Phasma in there. All the villains are pretty sweet,
It's true. They are. And they all are so
regardless of
unique.
what you think. Exactly. They all look unique. They all have their own theme. They all have their own individual scenes of this is why you should fear them.
Hmm.
So
And there's
I
like a
love the villains in the
hierarchy.
sequel trilogy.
Me
Yeah.
too. I that I love that I'm a huge sequels fan. Dan is, I would say, a mild sequel appreciator. And I think as we've
I'm a sequel appreciator. It's
okay,
mild
good.
a little
I just
on on the scale on Buffalo.
oh my God.
Not quite Reaper sauce, but
I'm Reaper Sauce sequel appreciator. But
I know.
I'm happy that we've kind of got to slowly, naturally, as we've been doing this, bring up different things we love about the sequels.
Hmm.
But like I said, I'm pretty tepid on Snoke as a character, but I think he's really cool. I'd love to see more, and that's where we're gonna kind of dive into some theories. Again, we're gonna each rank that we're gonna talk about it a little. We don't have to spend too much time on all of them, but we're gonna say, here's the theory, talk about it a little, and we're gonna give it our ranking of that's actually pretty cool, meh, or that's absolutely crackpot and I hate it. All right, and these are real Snoke theories. Again, it's a Screen Rant
Can
article. Go ahead.
can we add a category?
Sure.
Absolutely crackpot. Love it. But
Okay.
crackpot.
Sure. We can do that. And this is a Screen Rant article written by Jack Otway. And I disagree with the title, but that's okay. We're going to use it anyway. Star Wars 15 Snoke theories that make more sense than Palpatine, published on May 6, 2020. Dan
Hmm.
smirking. I disagree with the title. I love the Palpatine return. But are you ready for your
I
first theory,
think
Dan?
yes, I will say what
No,
I
go
was going to
ahead.
say.
Go ahead. Say it.
I think if Poe delivered the line other than somehow Palpatine is returned, it would be much better received, and I will die on that hill. And it's not even Poe's fault. It makes a ton of sense from where he was, from what he was. He was a pilot in the Resistance who has no idea about any of that stuff. It makes sense that he's pretty defeated and way out of his depth. and just saying, yeah, it happened. I don't know.
I yelled at someone
But
about that at Star Wars trivia. That's why Dan had to very carefully throw that category or that caveat out there.
so I digress.
No, no,
Let's
it's
bring
good.
on theory number one.
Theory number one is one that you kind of mentioned that Snoke is a direct manifestation of the dark side. And this kind of gives like a Anakin Skywalker, like an anti Anakin Skywalker, like the dark side created him by the midichlorians dispersed after a member of the Sith died, is what this says. I think meh.
Eh,
It's not very captivating.
If if that's the case, I feel like he'd be a lot more powerful.
I agree. Or
And we
like
would have seen him do some cooler things other
yeah,
than project himself and yell at Kylo Ren.
he did a little lightning bolt and held Rey in the air and then died. So we're meh on that theory.
Again, I don't hate it. I think there are better explanations. And
Agree.
I will say I don't think it's a better explanation than Palpatine.
I completely
If
agree with that
that's the
one.
bar, I don't think it crosses that threshold.
All right. So here's the next one, and I'm glad you added your extra category because I think you might be pulling it out here, and that is the Supreme Leader Snoke is in fact Grand Moff Tarkin. This postulates that he survived the Death Star explosion, and this is based on the fact that there's a resemblance between him and Snoke. With the Force, it wouldn't take much time to restore him to life.
Crackpot, I love it.
Crackpot, I hate it. What?
I don't think it I don't think it's very feasible, but it's it's fun to think about.
This is the same kind of thing that like it's just it's insane. This is wild. I just like this is what Ryan Johnson did your Snoke theory sucks for because he's probably reading stuff like that and it's like this is terrible. So you love it, I don't love it.
I don't think it's very feasible. I don't know if I would. Again, if the threshold is better than Palpatine, it's definitely not there.
No. Now this
I don't
next
think
one, go ahead.
I don't think Tarkin cares enough about the light and dark side to really.
No, he only cares about like his ego.
Yeah, he was a general or admiral, excuse me. He was an a-hole,
He's
and
like
I don't
a
think he's gonna go out there.
no, he's like a
Go ahead.
biology professor ready to retire. He's an a-hole, but that's about all. The next one,
Thank you.
and again, this article came out well after the Rise of Skywalker. This one says that he's a clone of Palpatine, and I think I kind of in my head take that as Snoke is it's like version 3, and Palpatine, the body he's in, is like version 75. That's like my perspective of it. What do you think?
That sounds like it could be it. But also, how is that different than what?
Exactly. So I'll give it. I
Because
like it because
if
it's
we're
what happened.
especially if we're considering who Ray's dad is, makes a lot of sense
A clone
that
of
there's many
Palpatine.
versions.
Uh-huh. And I
Yeah.
think Ray's dad would be, probably closer to the one that we actually got, where this one is.
Uh, no, I disagree because I mean, unless he was just an offshoot where he was not force sensitive.
That's why he was thrown away.
I
Is
know. But
because he wasn't force sensitive.
I know. So are we regressing? We have force sensitive clones and then he's just a one-off, not force sensitive.
It's a great question.
I don't know.
It's
That's
this is from the Rise of Skywalker novelization, which I clearly need to revisit. That's my burden. So what do we give this on our ranking?
I like it. Makes sense.
Yeah. I think it is
It's it.
exactly it is it. Don't you worry, because we're hopping back on the crazy train for he's Rey's twin brother. Since Rey's the granddaughter of Palpatine, she and Snoke could have been twins, similar to Luke and Leia.
Yeah, it's a no for me.
It's a that's
Not
a
a fan of it.
crackpot hate it. I I think I like the dyad better than this.
Yeah. If he if he was more Kylo Ren's age, sure. But Snoke is very clearly an older being.
Substantially older, and even Kylo Ren is older than Rey, which presents its own
Yeah.
set of challenges with the whole dyad business. But
Yeah.
we ignore that and we love it anyway. Um, so hate it.
Yeah, not a fan of it.
Me either. How familiar are you with certain aspects of legends, such as the Yuzan Vong?
You have to give me another sentence on that one.
So the Yuzan Vong are this race from legends that like has the power to like shut off the force.
Yes, I've heard of them.
They
One
like
of our old
invaded the
coworkers would tell me
galaxy.
about. Yes,
Yes. I Dan and I on it and we don't dislike legends. I'm a big Force Unleashed fan, but we're
I
more
just haven't.
yeah, we're more exposed to the canon stuff.
You took the words out of my mouth. I don't have the exposure to legends, and I don't. I really don't talk about legends because I don't have that exposure. I also don't have and in that same vein, I don't have the love for legends.
Like
And
go ahead, sorry.
yeah, for me, it's easy to cut out something that doesn't exist in my mind because I've never been exposed to it.
Yes,
But yes, I
and
have heard of them.
for me, I don't love the idea of the shutting off the force business. I never liked the idea from when I first heard of these guys, and I don't think Snoke necessarily did anything. And again, if we're thinking between the Force Awakens and the Last Jedi, we really don't know anything about him. He was a hologram,
Mhm.
so I'm
It's like
just
the Wizard of Oz.
I'm just gonna say meh, but I certainly wouldn't like that more than the Palpatine.
Yeah, it's could I will say there's a lot of potential for these theories, and if you were remaking it, you could incorporate some of these theories in there, and it would be a really cool story. But given what we have and what we've seen, I don't think it fits.
No, and yeah, that doesn't mean that they don't have a place, but not just not this place. So we'll settle on meh.
Yeah,
All right, the next one. This was my personal favorite theory. I know I'm kind of tipping my hand here. This is the he's Darth Plagueis theory, a character who we've seen on screen in live action now at this point.
yeah. We know it's somebody whose quest for immortality. Um, we know that is Kylo Ren a true Sith? Does it violate the rule of two? Doesn't sound like it does to me. Could be pretty cool, but then that would mean Palpatine had to resurrect him.
I think I guess if we're thinking about it in this point, from Palpatine wouldn't have necessarily been back yet. I think if they went this route, this would have been something where I don't know if I'd say better than Palpatine, but I would have certainly been really excited about this. Like, since we know the whole thing's about cheating life and Palpatine's ultimate failure would be the thing that he was like most proud of, I think that would be
That would be
really
pretty
cool.
cool. I mean, from that perspective, that would be very cool.
I'm always a
And it,
big, uh, go ahead, sorry.
no, I go ahead.
I'm always a big proponent of when the theory has like story backing.
Mhm.
That's usually when the theories are rooted in story. That's when they're most tangible and feasible to me. And I think that would be really cool that this like it still brings the Sith in. I think that would have been good. I like it.
And yeah, and it would highlight Palpatine's failures, which we see a
Hmm.
lot for the big bad. He messes up quite a bit.
It's true. Are you ready?
And to your point, his ego of killing Plagueis, just for him to not have actually done it, that'd be pretty sweet.
I know. I think it'd be good. Um, like we're settling on like it there.
That might be my apart from the one that's actually what we now know to be true. This one might be my favorite as well.
I love it. Get ready to hate it again because this next theory is that he is
You
Mace
gotta
Windu.
stop tipping the hand. I do hate it, but
I won't tell you I don't won't tell you what you're gonna feel next. How about that? I
thank you.
mean, the logic here was like he's got the lightning, his scar on his face or his head is from the
Mhm.
lightning. Come on.
Or better to say it was from the fall.
Yeah. Just no.
The di- I think just in general, the bringing back Mace Windu, it defeats the purpose of Mace Windu dying.
And the whole purpose of his
Mace Windu dying,
character.
right, symbolized the strictness of the Jedi and the rigidity of the Jedi Order, and how that ultimately dies. And he being the first victim of Order 66, well, technically fourth, but that, I don't know. I think if you bring him back, it defeats a lot of it makes Anakin's fall a lot less meaningful.
I completely agree. And I think he's a character that I know people love. And I mean, I like the character a lot, but I just don't think he needs to come back. I think bringing Palpatine back, it's like, who else? Like, it just makes sense. He's the villain. He's trying to
Yeah,
cheat life. Mace Windu got chucked out a window because Anakin decided he was evil. It's not as like,
right.
it's
Then
not as
again,
like master
you,
planning.
you say all the time you hate when people are killed off just to be killed off.
Yes.
I think this is one of those times where it was not that. I think his death was very symbolic and really meant a lot to the story, especially to the greater story when you're looking at Anakin's rise and fall. This really is the turning point of, and here's Darth Vader.
And
That's
a
his
great,
first act.
yeah, a great example of this for me is, and spoilers if alert if you haven't watched The Acolyte yet. If you haven't, you really should. It's fantastic. But The Acolyte, that's like Master Soul's death was such an integral part of the story of The Acolyte. And that's like me because I love Master Soul and he was like my favorite character when I was growing up or something, which I think is where a lot of this is rooted in.
Hmm.
If I was like Master Soul is alive, it's the theory because I like the character, not because there's any real reason.
Right. And but I can argue, well, I watched Soul die. I didn't watch Mace Windu die.
It's true.
I watched Boba Fett die.
You know,
Watched.
I'm gonna just skip ahead to a theory because you said you watched Boba Fett die, and one of these theories posits that Boba Fett is in fact Snoke.
Mm. Mm.
And remember, this is
Kind of
before Mandalorian.
kind of going back to the Moff Tarkin. I don't think Boba Fett would care.
No,
He is just a bounty hunter. He's good at it. The only allegiance he has is to who's paying him. So unless he's getting a lot of credits, I don't think he'd want to become a Sith Lord. I I'll even go a step further and say I think he hates everything to do with the Force,
it's
considering what we've seen on Geonosis.
the circumstances surrounding his father's demise.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with just again. These are so out there now that we know what it actually is. But
And it is a little unfair to the author to be examining this in 2024. I will say that.
now the author wrote this in 2020 though. It was after the Rise
That's
of Skywalker.
yeah. We know a lot more now.
It's true, and
And
the
we
Boba Fett theory holds a little more water if you haven't seen the Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett.
and, and we have the benefit of seeing the Bad Batch and the Mandalorian about how they really are. The emphasis was on cloning
Let me
and
give
will
you
be on cloning.
on the topic of cloning. How about I throw another one your way? And I think that I personally like this one better than Clone of Rey. What about Clone of Luke, a popular Legends character? Luke.
Ooh, yeah. Uh, could be cool.
I like
I
again the
mean,
story. I like the potential of like a good Luke and a failed bad Luke. I don't love clones of, you know, I could say this as I love the clone Palpatine and Rise of Skywalker, but I don't necessarily think just putting a clone of a character you like in there is a compelling villain automatically.
the way you could write it and be like, this is all of Luke's failures, or the part of Luke that died that night when he went after Ben Solo.
That'd be kind of nifty. And with some,
Just
I always say I like weird force stuff, some weird force stuff to rationalize how that came to be.
yeah, I think that could be pretty cool
Yeah. So this
because you
list
can
has,
get really,
go
really
ahead.
trippy with it too.
You
You
can.
can get trippy and you can do.
We've kind
The
of,
list has some merit.
well, hang on. We've kind of lost steam on our ranking. I actually like this, the Luke clone theory
I,
somehow.
I think it'd be pretty cool.
I agree. And now this list
It,
has some more stuff on there, but I want to give you two more. So we're going to kind of skip some
okay,
of them. Do you want to end with what I think is the better one, or do you want to do that first?
just I don't care. Surprise me.
I'll surprise you.
I don't want to know which one is the.
All right. I think we could you won't be able to tell. All right. This one is the a failed chosen one. So the concept here is that it's a product of Palpatine and Plagueis's manipulations, alive from before Anakin was born.
Mhm.
Again, this is something where like you can fan fiction it, but I actually really like that theory too.
It makes a lot of sense. Um, especially with the ambiguity of Anakin's creation,
Hmm.
the ambiguity with Mayosha and the Acolyte.
That's one that is enriched by the stuff that we just saw in the Acolyte for sure.
Maybe it's Chimere. I don't know. Um,
Mm.
but I think that's pretty cool. I will
Yeah,
say.
yeah, I like it. And then
And
go
that
ahead.
really you don't need a lot of you could probably get away with, yeah, some dark side magic. Pull this one off.
Hmm.
And as a Star Wars fan, I'd be like, yes, that's sweet.
And I don't think people would be as averse to that as they are with Palpatine, because it's like it's still new. It's a new character.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
I like it. You like it. That brings us to our last one for the day. Again, there's some more on this list. If you're interested in looking it up, please feel free. But our last one is a reincarnation of the son of Mortis.
You and the Mortis people.
I'm a
I say
big
no.
I'm a big Filoni guy, and I think after Ahsoka season two, you may be changing your tune because God knows what he's going to do with that. Dan is face palming right now. Go ahead.
I love the Mortis arc in the Clone Wars. The entirety of Ahsoka. I just for some reference, I sit next to Joey at work on like a corner, and the amount of times I've heard Ahsoka is the daughter as
Uh,
I am looking straight ahead, and it sounds like it's people in the back yelling.
Ahsoka
I'm just kidding.
Ahsoka is not the daughter yet. I think
She
Ahsoka
is.
could become a daughter-like figure.
Yeah, and text the son. Okay.
No, Tech is alive, but you're not ready for that yet.
I don't think anybody will be. I don't think we're going to be seeing the Bad Batch again.
I will parade
Anyway,
around the Tech is alive. This is 2 weeks in a row we talked about Tech is alive.
yeah. Okay, back to the Mortis arc. Yes, that'd be pretty cool, especially with would they somehow access the world between worlds?
Oof. Which was technically around at this point that this was happening. Yeah, I think so. Maybe it would have been just after the Last Jedi, but regardless, I think it's a really interesting theory for sure. And I think the character is really interesting, but I think you kind of get into that same criticism of Palpatine where it's like, are we just bringing this character back again? But it is more minor, and some people it would be their first time. I would say the majority of people would probably be
Right.
their first time seeing him.
And you could argue he's more powerful than Palpatine. He would have the means to do it.
It is. It's. I think that would be very captivating. So let's end this episode by kind of recapping on our favorite ones. We were a fan of the Sun after a little bit of him hawing.
Yes.
We were a
Yes.
fan of um
Luke clone.
Luke clone. We were a fan of Darth Plagueis. And
Hmm.
I think that was pretty much it. Overall, I don't think that these are necessarily better than the Palpatine. I think it was just it's their alternatives, personally. What do you think?
Right. Yeah, I like them. Um,
Would you have preferred
but
one of these to that?
we have to remember who Star Wars is for. Star Wars is for everybody.
Hmm.
So these are getting a little niche, but
They
they're
are.
very cool. And
They're cool.
the three that we talked about, if we were to redo it, you could work that in and make it totally make sense, have it fit in the timeline. But I feel like there's still a chance that there'd be a criticism of something. I
I
I don't.
yeah, I think there's always going to be criticism, clearly, no matter what with Star Wars. But I I think you just need to appreciate what you get and not get lost in the theory. Is kind of the exercise that we're doing here. But I think it's so fun to
Right. And
theorize, and I think we're missing some
it
of this fun spirit these days.
yes, I love theorizing. Joey had this thing where he'd call it Dan Theory Thursday, where I would admittedly come up with some crackpot theories. Um,
We never put
all
that
of
to
which were
tape, though.
rooted in
We really
some.
should.
No, well, on air you have given more than I have,
Yeah, he
which
pulls
is
his
kind of
punches.
great.
When things start recording, he pulls his punches, and then as soon as it's done, he's like, "Count Dooku Snoke."
No,
They reattached his head and his hands.
that's where the cut came from, but we aren't ready for that conversation. Um, no, but we have Dan Theory Thursday where I will go out and say some crackpot things at work. Um, Again, if you guys have been listening, we are scientists, so I say this in the lab in front of everybody. It's kind of fun,
We
but
usually end
Joey's
up
the only
yelling
one
at
who
each other.
understands what. Yeah,
Well, what
but
did you think of our
again,
surprise episode? Did you enjoy it, Dan?
it was fun. Again, the three we discussed, they all could work. Not to say they're necessarily better, but they could work. They'd be great for what if.
Yes, and I think one thing that the Palpatine reveals, it is, behind the eight ball, because I think if we were to remake, and I wouldn't change much, but I think I would leave some breadcrumbs that it clearly is Palpatine. Like I saw
Mhm.
this theory floated that I really liked, of like when you cut into Snoke's throne room in Last Jedi, like maybe he's like talking to someone on a hologram, implying that there's someone else, or just some little
Right.
things like that that kind of
We
set you
need
up.
one more scene of Snoke probably by himself of that would answer a lot more. Does he have autonomy? Is he being controlled? Is he a puppet? Because that'd be pretty sweet if he really was a puppet and the little lightning bolt was actually Palpatine's force
Oh,
lightning through the puppet.
that would be awesome. I think I want to end this episode with another, like, I think one of the greatest ideas for an animated series, which we still haven't got our post Bad Batch what's the next animated series announcement yet. I think at this point they're probably waiting for Star Wars Celebration in the spring. But they, I think it would be such a good idea to do a Luke's Jedi Academy type show, bring Mark Hamill back, and that's just wishful thinking. But I think it makes this really compelling, interesting thing where you can explore the interactions before the sequels. And we know from the comics that Kylo Ren and Luke faced off or interacted with Snoke previously.
Mhm.
So to get that enriched, I think would be really awesome.
And again, we've again not to beat a dead horse, but you and I have discussed before that it's coming. we will be getting the content that we got for the prequels, like the Clone Wars. It's here. The Mandalorian, that's sequel material. That is leading us directly into the sequels, whether we like it or not. It is it is there.
It's just a matter
And
of time.
I think the Mandalorian movie ends with the creation of the First Order.
I think that's directly where we're heading. Anyway, you have anything else to add, Dan?
No, Snoke's cool. I hope we get
Sno-
more of them.
Amen to that. If you liked any of these theories, or if you had any other wild Snoke theories, please feel free to let us know. We'd love to hear from you, especially if it's one we haven't mentioned and you have like, we'd love to read a nice long argument. If we do get any long arguments, we could like record an episode about those too. That would be kind of nifty.
Not even arguments. We just want to know.
Yeah, what do you think and why
We
do you think it?
yeah, it's fun.
It is. And
We
with that, go ahead.
maybe we can do a theory episode.
That'd be kind of fun.
We would be fun.
A I'm just going to hold my tongue on that one. Anyway, with that, thank you so much for listening. We really, really appreciate it. If you're interested, please consider giving us a like or subscription on our podcast platform of your choice or our YouTube page. Consider giving us a follow on Twitter or X at Blue Shadow Pod or on Instagram at Blue Shadow Podcast. And with that, thank you so much. We really appreciate you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Thank you.